Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. I'm Greg Christ, along with Frank Fear. Frank, welcome in. And another week has gone by. We're another week closer, and got another good show tonight. And looking forward to that. Just wrapped up a nice one this past weekend, and I know you had some traveling to take care of. I hope you're rested up and ready to go.
I am. Greg, I'm so proud of the two of us. We're floating, everybody, with that background, and we're stable. And since this
That's
is the
right.
first night, Darren has outdone himself with our graphics, and but we're just hanging in there. It's like being on a roller coaster, Greg.
Yeah, yeah. It just keeps getting better and better though. Darren's quite the expert when it comes to this
Is
technology stuff, unlike me, especially. And yeah, he does a great job with it. And I hear comments all the time about um, how good it looks, how good the picture is, how good the graphics are. And that's a credit to him because he does a great job, great equipment, and puts together a nice show. And I say, despite us, or in spite of us, I guess I should say, in spite of us,
hmm.
he still pulls off a pretty good looking show. So I appreciate Darren for all the hard work that he does. Well, Frank, we had a good weekend. We got to visit Morgantown Friday and spent a day with numerous WVU legends. It was so much fun. We got to, of course, Brian Joswiak, who does the fundraiser for the children's hospital up there, Joe's Knows Kids, and spent time with Joe's. We got to spend time with Daryl Talley, Major Harris, Rich Brand, Mike Fox, Mike Collins. Just on and on and on. The list continues. We got to talk to Don Neatland and Rich Rodriguez. What a fun day that was.
Oh, fantastic! It is. For me, I was thinking about it. I flew into Pittsburgh. I live in Michigan during this time of year and flew into Pittsburgh and then decided to get off the interstate and come down on Route 119, US 119, and back into Morgantown. Brought back a wave of memories of when I did that for the first time many years ago. And it's always good seeing you. We had a lot of fun.
Yep.
And the recurring theme is everybody's excited about the football season, and for good reason with Coach Rich Rod there, and it was good to see him. He spoke to the crowd. We just had a ball.
Yeah, and like you said, the enthusiasm's there, and you could tell by the crowd that was there. Man, what a turnout for the golf tournament. I think Joe said they were full. Um, Plus, there were others just floating around, other people in the restaurant area, just people everywhere. So it was a huge turnout for that event. And looking at some of the pictures from the Saturday event, the bowling looked like a great turnout for that too. But we were grateful to be there. We had a good time, like you said. They allow us to set up and do some interviews, and again, we got to talk to a lot of folks. And like you said, the underlying theme and what we noticed is the enthusiasm and anticipation for Rich Rod's return and the program in general. Exciting stuff, and I think everybody kind of feels the same way when it comes to that, and that is that uh, you know we may not go undefeated and win the college football playoff first year, um, but the idea that a brand of football that West Virginia fans can get behind is going to be there again, and I think we're all excited about that. And I always preface that by saying that's no knock on the previous coaching staff. As a coaching staff, they did what they could do. They did it their way. Just didn't work out, and again, I think that's one of the things that most of them talked about was one of the ideas that when West Virginia plays the football game in years past, we may not win, but people knew we were there, and it was a very physical brand of football, and the old Big East brand of football, and I think everybody's anticipating Coach Rodriguez bringing all that back, and we can't
Mhm.
wait.
That's right. And even though we did the program live, thanks to Darren and Lucas Berry, bringing the equipment, 4K equipment, all the way up from Fayetteville. You can watch the program on tape, both at the Voice of College Football on YouTube and at any of the New River network, especially on Facebook. You can watch the interviews with various folks, and it's good to see Daryl Talley. He just celebrated his 65th birthday, and it's just great. The enthusiasm is there, and heck, the season starts in about a month. So
Yeah. Yep. Daryl looks like he's 65 going on 35. He looks young, young. Hadn't aged hardly any, and we had a lot of fun with him. He's a blast to be around, and of course the banter back and forth between those guys are always entertaining and enjoyable. But yeah, it was good, and like I said, just makes you look more forward to the season, which is coming up soon. We got a couple other things there. We've been bantering back and forth about, you and I, to talk about tonight before we bring in your interview today, which for those that don't know or haven't read the scroll, you interviewed Jeremy Sheffey earlier today. We're going to play that here in just a little bit. That was a great interview, as always. And again, you listen to these guys talking, you get the same feeling, and that is everybody's fired up about the new regime coming in and getting things back in order up there. So that'll be good here in just a few minutes. But one of the things we have talked about or read about, and you and I have not discussed, but texted about a little bit, the idea you sent today, the idea of a gentleman being brought in to be the czar of college sports and kind of oversee what's going on in the direction of college sports today. I read that article and, not try not to get political or anything like that, but it's worrisome, and we'll give the background on here in just a moment. But to me, it's worrisome when the government is going to get involved in something like this. I don't have a lot of faith in anything running smoothly. If the government is doing it, it also turns into a big bureaucracy where nothing can get done, and there's nothing but infighting. And then, and again, no offense, but the picks to run different agencies that we've witnessed in the past year, not always really qualified, and you worry about that as well. And this guy played football. He's a businessman, a very successful businessman, and I have no doubt that he probably has, the business acumen to be able to wade through what's going on in the NCAA. I'm just not sure that, you want someone. I would prefer to have someone who's been involved in the game, in the facilitating the games, coaching basically is what I'm getting at. And again, we've mentioned Nick Saban several times. I'd be a lot more comfortable having someone like him, at the reins than somebody's, political pick for whatever reasons they pick those people. But anyway, that was kind of my summation after I read this article. And if you want to go ahead and explain it in the article in more detail, what's going on and who the guy is and all that, that'll help people better understand maybe where I'm coming from.
Yeah, this is I was going to say interesting. I'm not sure that's the right word, but here's the background. I don't think it's any secret for anybody who's been following sports. ESPN has covered this. Is that President Trump is not happy with what's going on in college sports, and he's used the occasions of meeting with various football figures, including Nick Saban, to pick their brains and get thoughts. And I'm not sure it was leaked. I believe it was leaked intentionally, but without any details other than saying that we should expect soon for the president to issue an executive order about college football, which essentially would be the federal government basically laying out what college football needs to do. And what is presumed is that there would be an oversight committee, a commission on college football that essentially would be responsible, and that the person who chairs that, we've been using the term, others too, of czar. Now, what is I think there are intersecting political issues here, lowercase p. The person that evidently President Trump has been getting input from is a fellow by the name of Cody Campbell, who is a billionaire business person. But there's another political angle to this. For those who've been paying attention to what is going on to the Big 12, um, and this is my interpretation, I won't even drag Greg in it, but I think he would agree, but I'll let him speak for himself. You know, when you look at the conferences, I don't care what conference, all teams are not the same. Not on the field, not in the piggy bank, so to speak, not in terms of the brand. Conference teams are not the same. I mean, let's face it. In the Big Ten, it's Michigan, Ohio State, to a lesser extent, Penn State. Then you got schools like Minnesota, Michigan State, et cetera, et cetera. In the old Pac-12, it was UCLA, Stanford for a while, Southern Cal, certainly Oregon. And in the SEC, everybody knows, you know, Georgia, Alabama, ACC, Florida State, Clemson. In the Big 12, with the departure of Oklahoma and Texas, the question is who would replace those schools. In fact, you can make a strong case that Nebraska left once Texas came into the Big 12 because, my God, that was Oklahoma and Nebraska were the lead schools, Colorado to a certain extent. But that changed when Texas came in with all the money, et cetera, and with their own network, and Nebraska left for the Big 10. What people are talking about is the school that's angling to be the kingpin. Guess what? It's Texas Tech. And guess what? Cody Campbell, Texas Tech. And so I think there are several political strands here, Greg. I think this is something that Texas Tech would like to see one of their own alums and big donor essentially play an outsized role if that executive order comes to pass. Perhaps even serving on the committee, perhaps even being that czar. But we don't have any details other than the fact that it was expect in the near future the president to issue an executive order, but with no details. And at least at this point, I didn't check in the last couple of hours. I couldn't find any details more than that. So that's the backstory.
Talking, I thought I put it back on. There we go. Um, in the article, I read, it said there won't be a commission, which kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I thought, well, you're just going to have one person um, running, running everything. I don't know that that can happen. I would think that you'd have to have at least uh, some form of a committee of people that could work on the decisions and vote on decisions and that sort of thing. But again, you know, um, the political part of it is worrisome, and I just think that um, the fact that the guy's a billionaire probably has more to do with it than anything. Not his expertise in the NCAA or anything like that. That's why I feel like you really need someone who has been on the inside and knows what's going on. Again, Nick Saban would be a classic example. I'm sure there's others out there. Um, I think it's going to be, if you're going to have something like that, it's all well and good, but you got, in my mind, you have to have somebody that does not have, serious ties to the athletic program or any athletic program. And if you look at the commissioners in the professional ranks, um, it's almost like um, they're adversaries. The commissioner rules, and they have a players union that will fight back and forth. Of course, sounds like there's a lot of colluding going on, but collusion with in the NFL. But it's hard to me just to it would be like pulling a Don Nealon out, for example, and letting him run it. There's such conflict there with that it would, to me, cloud your judgment a little bit, no matter what you say. I can be fair and impartial, but if it comes down to it, you know what's going to happen. And even if it's a Big 12 person, you still worry about that aspect of it. And I just think that number one, you need someone who has a connection to college football, understands the NIL, understands the portal, understands labor laws, understands unions, understands all those things, and is willing to get in there and work for the betterment of everyone. And I don't think the guy has bad ideas. I was reading, he talked about boosting the revenue and all that sort of thing, which I think it would be, we've talked about solutions and what we think would be easy ways to do that. So I don't know that that's the entire issue, raising the revenue. I think that's, obviously a part of it, but again, I just feel like you need someone with those ties to the game and to the system that know how it works and knows how it works and has dealt with it, to come up with good ideas, good solutions. And I think you need more than one person. I mean, you and I can sit here and I come up with all the great ideas in the world, but we talk to somebody else and they have a different slant on it or a different idea, then that creates the conversation and creates the ideas, and then you start solving the problems that go along with that. And I just don't think one person can come in and do that. But I really just think that there's such a conflict there with the ties to a university and to the donor program, that there's more than just the interest of everyone in college football. I think there's more interest in one particular university. So I don't know. I don't know that the idea is totally bad, but I don't know that it needs to come from where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me a couple of other things. I appreciate your perspective. I agree for the most part. The reason we talked about this, the reason they brought in Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts, to be the NCAA president, is they wanted to bring in a politician and work Washington with the idea that regulation would come out of the Congress. And what we read in the article that was released today is that supposedly the president says there's too much polarization. It's been tried multiple times, both in the House and the Senate, multiple bill proposals. Senator Manchin was one of the supporters. Charlie Dent in the House when he was in the House for Pennsylvania. The bottom line is that nothing went forward. So as a consequence, since it's unlikely to come from Congress, I'll do it. And on the flip side, what we have is those who would support that would say, but look at what we have right now. We have the Big Ten and the SEC calling the shots. Some are more equal than others, as they say, and basically dictating to the other two major conferences. The Pac-12, I think, will be back again in a couple of years, but to the Big 12 and the ACC. The other thing that is not new, really, but now is becoming public in a big way, is money problems at major college schools. We had a guest on not long ago from Oklahoma, and one of the things he said is, and we followed up and researched it, cuts have to be made at the University of Oklahoma program, letting people go. And then just a day or so ago, a huge budget issue at the University of Southern California. And one of the things that is being brought up is that decisions were made to invest athletic resources in a variety of ways before the House settlement the suit that was brought in the name of an athlete by the name of House, that now will require revenue sharing up to, at least at the beginning, $20.5 million. And now schools are scrambling to be able to meet their budget obligations, given the kinds of commitments they've made that got us to this point. So I think those on the other side, Greg, would probably argue that right now we're in a wild west. Nothing seems to be working in terms of a sustainable way. And maybe if we can take it away from the NCAA, take it away from the Big Ten and the SEC, get it stabilized, which is wishful thinking, I think, maybe the point. But let's see what happens. If it's going to happen, I think it's probably going to happen in the next week. There's no need to leak something and then nothing happens. That's a waste of effort.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, like you said, the idea is probably not a bad idea. I mean, somewhere along the line, we've got to get someone in control, to get all this mess straightened out. But at the same time, I think you have to have, someone that has the best interest of college football, the process of the universities, of the athletes. You got to have somebody that has the best interest of everyone involved, not any particular one. And that's I think where the problem lies, and finding that. And again, I don't know this guy. I have no idea who he is. I don't know much about him, and maybe he will go in and do it right. But I just feel human nature is going to steer it in certain directions, and you worry about that. Anytime you involve the government, like I said, there's going to be bureaucracy and red tape and all that, and you worry about with these him handing down executive orders, what's going to prevent him from doing executive orders after it gets established, and you end up with unfunded mandates. You have to do this, but there's no money for that. You got to come up with that on your own. I went through that as an educator. We were constantly getting mandates where we had to do this and do this as a school system, but yet there was no financial backing for it. So it puts a real strain on everybody, and you worry about things like that. So again, I just really think you need someone again who has that background and has the the intellect and the involvement in the NCAA, how that all worked, and what was wrong with it, what was right with it. Come up with a plan that's going to help everyone. And they need to call me or you so we can talk about our divisional plan and our NFL model that they need to use. So you hope something has to be done, and I don't know that this is a bad idea. I'm just a little bit leery of it. I think, of course, it really didn't matter what I think, because I've seen a lot of executive orders that are doing things that I'm not particularly crazy about, and this will be no different. But again, something needs to be done. I just don't know if this is the right way to go about doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to make a prediction. No drum roll needed. that Cody Campbell from Texas Tech has got the president's ear, and that Nick Saban, if there is a czar, it'll be Nick Saban. There's no one else who has the reputation, the experience, the savvy to do it. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised that, like so many things in life, you don't leak or announce something without already knowing what the answer is going to be. And people will listen to Nick Saban, and he has all the credentials you described. And being from the SEC, he also coached in the Big Ten. I don't think he'd be partial to the SEC and the Big Ten. I think he's old school. He'll do what's best for the game, for the sport. Yeah. So I'm going to guess that Cody Campbell from Texas Tech is in the ear of the president. And when the president makes an announcement, he's going to want to I don't want to mix metaphors. I was going to say hit a home run. Let's say he's gonna run the kickoff back 100 yards. A better reference, and we'll see because we haven't heard anything from Nick Saban. I haven't heard his name. That may be speaking volumes. We'll just see.
Yeah. Well, another, while you were talking, I just thought of another name who I think would be excellent. And I know there's some WVU fans that wouldn't like this, but Oliver Luck, I think, would be a great candidate. He's played the game. He's been a professional at it. He's been an athletic director. He's been in the NCAA. He's been in, he's a businessman. He's touched and run organizations, and he's has a ton of experience doing all those things, and to me would be a perfect fit for something like that, even as part of a commission. But you need one person in charge that can run it, a no nonsense person, I think, and either one of those would be fine. But you just hope they get somebody that has that knowledge and understanding and fairness. I think fairness is the key, and you see a lot of things in our country and world and society right now that are not fair, and you hope that prevails in something like this because the impact is so broad and it affects everybody. It's not it's not the end of the world, but it's still something that's really important to a lot of folks, and you just want it to be fair, and that's I think from West Virginia standpoint, we just want to be treated equally. That's all we're asking. And so you hope somebody gets in that can handle that part and do that part of it. So, but we'll have to see. I don't have a lot of faith right now. Not right now, anyway. I may change my mind later. So hopefully, the next couple of weeks I'll be able to say, "Oh man, I really like this." It's going this way, I know.
That's right.
I doubt that happens, but we'll see. And I didn't know if we didn't talk about this much. I didn't know we talked about it some. If you wanted to discuss this in here, but and I don't know if there's been any more news on it. The quarterback that WU apparently through the grapevine has expressed some interest in from Brigham Young. And again, I'll let you handle the backstory on that. Then we can hash that out a little bit before we bring Jeremy in.
Yeah, well, many people know the name Jake Retzlaff. He did a great job last year at BYU. The game that I saw from beginning to end was that incredible ending. Ended up to be an incredible ending. BYU, Utah, when Utah had that game won. And BYU was back into their end zone almost. And Retzlaff basically drove BYU for a touchdown that won the game. At any rate, he's been accused of raping I think a co-ed 2 years ago, and really faced at least a suspension, if not expulsion from BYU, if that suspension while that was being adjudicated, possible expulsion if it was proven in court. And he decided to leave. And so now, obviously, with a person of his caliber, people are schools are looking at him. He's looking at schools, and sports reporters and others in the business are weighing in. And it brings up an interesting question you and I debated: is winning all that important to rush in? And what about other quarterbacks you may have? And there's been some back and forth, if you're following, as most of us are, West Virginia on social media. Would that be fair to Nico? Would it be fair to the quarterback room now? Would a person like Retzlaff come in and be given the position? Of course, there's been nothing official at all, but I think it raises questions that sometimes don't get debated as well, because winning's so important. But obviously, the question, Greg, is at what cost? How far do you go? And these days, it seems like the boundaries are more expansive than more constrained the way they used to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of angles you look at that to me are worrisome. One, of course, is the accusations and what happens with that, and do you really want that? You want that baggage in your program. I don't know. I'm not judging innocence or guilt or anything like that, But until that's, like you said, adjudicated, uh, we don't know. And the other thing that troubled me, and I think I mentioned this to you, is um, just the mere fact that we're mentioned in that, and if there is any truth to the fact that we are looking at possibly bringing him in or trying to, what is that saying about the people you have in your quarterback room right now? And no knock on them, but is that saying, we're not happy with what we have, so we're going to take a chance on this guy? Um, that worried me a little bit. The fact that uh, it sounds like Nico probably is going to get the starting nod, but is the coaching staff saying, he's just not good enough? You don't know, um, and the other guys who are supposed to be really good quarterbacks as well. What's that saying about them if you're going to, pull somebody else in rather than, develop what you got, even if he's better than they are? It still sends out a message that I'm not so sure it is going to resonate positively with the players or with the fans. And I think that I would hope, and I'm sure they've done their due diligence or will do it before they would ever bring him in. You hope that it's not true. The accusations against him, you hope that that gets worked out for the victim, alleged victim, and others. You hope all that works out in a good way. But even with that being said, just bring in any quarterback, anybody, right now. What's that saying to your quarterback room? And that worries me a little bit, especially at this stage of the year. And that could really, to me, create some issues.
I agree with you completely. On this one, I think the politics, lowercase p, would suggest I really doubt West Virginia will be going after him, no matter how good he is. And we're going to hear a lot of this from our guest, Jeremy Sheffey, because he played in the early 2000s, and he joined the team just a year after Rich Rod came the first time, and so he's going to talk on the video about how complex it is to run that system,
Yeah.
particularly for an offensive lineman, and to bring in a quarterback. And a guy of Retzlaff's caliber isn't going to want to sit.
Right.
And so it becomes, and it's also Rich Rod's first year. So I think the politics don't line up, not to speak of. If I were in his shoes, him being Retzlaff, I wouldn't transfer to another Big 12 school. For one thing, they played against him, they know him.
Yeah.
He'd be much better in another league where the familiarity is such that he can dip into his bag of tricks and do his thing. But we're just going to have to see how this plays out. But it is a national news story, and it's getting some play in the Mountain State.
Yep. Yeah. And again, like you said, how everybody wants to win, but how important is it? I mean, you gotta you got to think about the program, the future of the program. I don't think you want, something like this, especially, with Rich coming back and restarting and reinventing himself, I guess it would be a way to say it. I'm not sure why you would even want that controversy, not just the controversy of the accusations, but the controversy of another quarterback after you already have, two or three that's been here, established, and working hard to fighting for the job and that sort of thing. I think there's a lot of reasons not to do this, and I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think he'll end up at WVU. And again, like you said too, the Big 12. Why would he want to, come first of all to a place where you got a guy that's been, sitting in the background for 4 years waiting to play, who's talented, and then you got some other folks that have come in that are talented as well. So, he's not going to go somewhere to sit. He wants to go somewhere and play. And I don't know that he really wants to come in and have a battle, a battle to start, So a lot of reasons I think point to not happening. So we'll see. We'll see. I personally hope I don't, but you never know. I mean, winning to a lot of people is the most important thing. And but I think, in this situation, I just think there's too many reasons. If you sit down and make your list out of, yays and nays. There's a lot more nays than there are yays, and so I think in the end we won't see that happen. Um, so I think time wise, we've been sitting there yakking for quite a while. We might want to get our guest on. We don't want to run out of time and not have him on. Are you putting in all this hard work today? I apologize, sir. I was on the road today and couldn't join you. I did think about it though, and then got to check it out a little bit on the way back. So I think we'll go ahead and get to that. Jeremy Sheffey, of course, an offensive lineman for WU, a good offensive lineman, and even our younger fans should be able to recall him playing. And of course, when you look back when he played, there were so many other big names there that his name sometimes got overlooked. And but a great interview with him. So we'll go ahead and jump on that right now.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Frank Fear for Mountaineer Locker Room. And as always, we just love to feature Mountaineer football and basketball alumni. And we're really pleased to have Jeremy Sheffey with us today, a great offensive lineman from the early to the mid 2000s. And Jeremy, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Frank. I'm excited to talk with you and reminisce a little bit.
Oh my God. And we were talking before the taping that we were just at Brian Joswiak's golf tournament over the weekend. And boy, the enthusiasm for the upcoming season is great. But we want to talk about you. So you were born in Maryland, Baltimore area, and then moved to Kentucky. So you're like me, you're not a native West Virginian. So talk about moving to Kentucky, playing there, and why did you choose West Virginia?
Yeah, so I moved to Kentucky when I was on my 13th birthday, and I didn't know anybody. And my first interaction was with the coach of the football team, Chick Thomas, and he had talked me out of hanging out with a group of kids that were, now we know, not such good group of kids. They all didn't turn out too well. So he actually asked me to join the football team, and that's how I started playing football. And my high school career was pretty good, I guess, and I was getting recruited several places, but I had gone to a night game in Morgantown and watched the Mountaineers play my sophomore year of high school. And as anybody who's been to a night game in Morgantown knows, it's a very different environment at night in Morgantown, and you could just feel the electricity in the air. So when I started to get recruited by West Virginia, I just knew the whole time that's where I wanted to go. And which is kind of funny because I grew up in Marshall territory. So, you would have thought maybe Marshall, but I just knew Morgantown was special. And I just knew it from the first game at night in Morgantown. I don't even remember who we played. I just remember how electric it was being in that stadium that night. And, I just knew that's where I wanted to go from day one.
Well, I'll tell you what, again, you're from out of state. I'm from out of state, New York. And when we came down US Route 119, into Morgantown, my wife and I, who's also an alum, Kathy, we knew it was the place. So I understand. I didn't go to a night game. I just came into town and say, hey, this is a neat place. And so you played on fantastic teams early in the Rich Rod era, 2002 to 2006. And let me just read some stats here. 47-16 over that period, winning 75%. You played in 39 of those 63 games and went to 5 bowl games and won the last 3. Some great wins over Georgia Tech, etc. And so talk about your WVU career, offensive guard. You didn't play much your freshman year, but you did, I think, started a game. But by the time the sophomore year came along, and then junior and senior, you were right there.
Yeah, so I actually so I redshirted. Obviously, I came into Morgantown. Thought I was going to be a defensive end, and by the spring of my freshman year, my redshirt freshman year, I guess, Coach Trickett had come and talked to me. He also recruited me and asked me if I'd like to try offensive line, and then I'd probably have a better chance of playing. I actually did start my freshman year, though. I started game 4 against Miami, and for most of the season, I started after that. But it was an amazing run. I mean, we had that first year was the hardest year. I think that was our worst record was that year, but we were still getting the offense put together and getting it all implemented. And it was a lot of fun because then going into my, I guess, redshirt sophomore year, I think, is that trying to think when Pat White came on the scene. Was it my junior year? I think it might have been my junior year. But when the team started coming together, right, and we started really getting an understanding of the offense, really started, getting that bond in the locker room. Around that time, Mike Barowitz came in the picture, and our off-season training really went to the next level. And that brought us all together even more. And it was one of those things where the 2 summers before, I remember it wasn't quite as much of the team staying in town. A lot of us went home and kind of came and went, and we were still there in Morgantown training if we were taking classes, but it wasn't as, but when Barowitz came in, the phone call started going out. Hey man, you better get in here, because you're not going to survive if you don't come train all summer. Right. And we knew it was the real deal. And I think that was, obviously the coaches, the line coach Trickett, Coach Rodriguez, they did an amazing job, but really when Barowitz came on the scene, that's when we started really forming this really tight knit bond through the summers. Which then obviously carried on to the season, and then the off-season training. Again, we really started getting the bond together. And then we ended up, like you said, we went to 5 bowl games. I went to the Continental Tire Bowl, obviously several Gator Bowls, Sugar Bowl, and it was an amazing run with an amazing group of guys. And, we still this day, catch up on Facebook, or I run into somebody, I ran into Jason Colson in a hotel in Charlotte randomly one day. And we sat there I have a feeling he's getting ready to leave. He just ate dinner at the bar, and we ended up sitting there having a beer for, a solid 2-3 hours, just catching up on life like nothing had changed, so it's
yeah. Oh, you the great names. We've had Coach Trickett on the show, great stories. And, again, we got to put a shout out to the offensive line. When you think about the guys you were blocking for, starting with Rashid, KJ, we've had KJ on the show, and then Pat White and Steve Slayton, and you got Dan Moses next to you. People may not know you made the Outland list your senior year, all Big East. That's what everyone's looking at this year, because it's Rich Rod's offense. You got to have a great offensive line for the quarterbacks and the running backs and the wideouts to do their thing. So, boy, you hit the sweet spot with that group.
Yeah, it was, it's a unique offensive line too. I'm coaching football now, and one of the coaches my kids on the 10U team, on the 11 and 12U teams, they were asking about the blocking scheme similar to that. And, you really need mobile offensive linemen. That's why a lot of us were D linemen that came over. Because you have to be able to run those tracks and be very disciplined about it. And it was with Coach Trickett, his style of coaching, discipline's required. We'll just say that. And that's what made the offense work, right? Because you really don't know where the running back's going to end up on most of the plays, or, whoever's getting the ball. And, but being able to run laterally and stay on those tracks and all, it's a special thing you have to be able to do. And it's very hard to replicate. We watched a lot of Broncos film, learning how to run that offense. And that's going to be the challenge for Rich Rod this year, I think, too, is, you got an offensive line. It's the first year trying to run it. It's if he's running his high tempo spread offense again, getting those guys on the line, it's challenging. It's not your normal zone blocking. It's a little bit different than that. So it'll be interesting to see how they pick it up. Yeah,
especially with all those players. We talk all the time about one of probably the biggest difference in terms of the game between then when you played and now is you talked about being there. You were there for 5 years. You had a chance to mature, gel, learn the system, and now there's so much in and out with 70 folks coming into the program. So it takes a while, and the more complicated the system, the longer it takes. And you know this as well as anyone. The fans think about back in the day, and sometimes we don't have the patience. I should say we, because I'm a fan too. You have to have the patience to be able to say it takes time to be able to put a new system in place, get the players you need and want, and then be able to win consistently. But there's always hope, and it's exciting and so on.
Yeah.
Now, after WVU, you played a little pro ball, and talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so after West Virginia, I went on to play for the Chargers. I went undrafted free agent. And then after the Chargers, I bounced around a little bit after that in the arena leagues. Ironically, because we ran the ball so much, what I didn't do well was pass block, and that didn't work well for the NFL. So, I'll blame it on Rich Rod that we ran the ball so well I couldn't make it in the NFL. But no, I'm just kidding. But then after that, I went on to get into a professional life, and I got into technology services, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, you're vice president of a company called Art Tech that's in the banking, financial, and insurance sector. That's fantastic. But I do have, now I read this. Let's see if it's true. That in the pros, you actually ran the ball. Is that true?
Arena leagues, I did.
Yes, in the arena leagues, you ran the ball.
Arena leagues, I did. Yeah. So I was the fullback. And in arena football, that's usually like you're pulling guard, but you also get the ball every once in a while. So yeah, I actually scored some touchdowns.
Yeah. See, I figured, wait a minute now, if I read that with numbers to it, it must be true, but I wanted to make sure. And also for the audience, you did not make the artwork behind you. No. Even if you wanted to. So talk a bit about your family.
Yeah, no, the artists here are my oldest son and youngest son, Hunter, who's 10, and Corbin, who's 7. Some of these pictures are, obviously not from their newer work. Some of it's just handprints there. But my wife, Ashley, she was a gymnast for West Virginia. We met in the dorms. Wow. And so she likes the house very neat and clean. So the pictures get to go in the fridge for about a week, and then they have to find a new home. So my kids started putting them on my wall, and my entire backdrop is pictures of kids. So it's great. Funny because even the little girls that my sons are friends with, we become really close friends with their family. They come over and they'll put their art on my wall too, because their mommies will throw it away. So. But
one of the things, I guess, about the program, which is so reaffirming, is the guys that went through the program over the years. Well, your story fits right in because not only a great football player, but a great family man with kids, great professional career. And it's really, it's reaffirming, and it's a story that sometimes gets overshadowed by just the football stuff. And the football is very, very important, but there's a life to live after football, and we really appreciate it. We know you got to run, but I want to, you're in this business too. You have a podcast. So why don't you say a few words about your podcast, how people can get it, where it is, kind of thing, topic, and when it's on.
Yeah, so I have a podcast. I also am part of a ministry called Impact Ministries, Men Passionate About Christ. And we focus heavily on men and men's issues. We'll work with the wives and the daughters of men as well, but most of our work is with the men. And we started a podcast called The Cussin' Christians. And don't let the name fool you. We really don't cuss a lot in the podcast at all. The whole point was that, hey, you can be saved by Christ, but at the end of the day, you might slip up every once in a while, but that's okay because grace has got you. And you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere that you'd find any other podcasts. We're on there as well. And we talk about life, love, pursuit of happiness, and what God has done for all of us. So love for everybody to check us out. Make sure you guys give Frank a like and a share, and then come on over and check ours out too.
Thanks for the plug. We appreciate it. Well, this has been a real honor and a pleasure and a lot of fun. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on Mountaineer Locker Room, and we wish you the very, very best. And let's go Mountaineers. A great season coming up. Are you going to be able to go to any of the games?
So it's a secret in our house right now, but we bought UCF WVU tickets because we live just very close to UCF in Florida now. Okay. So we're going to definitely make it to that one. And then I'm going to see if I can make it up in October for the Sugar Bowl reunion, because that's hard to believe. It's been 20 years since that Sugar Bowl game.
That's amazing.
It gives me chills actually thinking about it.
Yeah. So. And one of the things we want to do with this program is to say, look, we're all on the shoulders of others. Let's not forget. These are the guys that, like you, that helped build this program to what it is. And if you didn't do, and other football players didn't do what you did back then, we wouldn't be where we are. So God bless you, Jeremy Sheffey. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you very much for watching. And Greg and I will be back in a second or two.
Yeah, good job. Great interview, Frank. Nice job, and another well-spoken individual and successful individual as well. We always talk about how we're always amazed at what happens to these guys after they leave WVU and their playing days in, and how big of an impact they have on society and the things that they do and the successes they have. He's another one that very impressive, and it's always fun to hear these guys.
Yeah, what was really interesting to me, not only getting to meet him, obviously he's a first-rate person, a couple of things. He talked about how complex that offensive line is, and it took him a couple of years, really. And once he got to it, actually, Dan Moses was, I think, in his slot, then moved over to center.
Yeah.
And but he talked about how important being on the defense. His background was defensive line, but because of the skills required of a defensive lineman, it fit very, very well into the offensive scheme that Rich Rod was running and still runs. And so I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, if you think back to those days when he played, and during Rich Rod's first tenure, the blocking was like a zone blocking. I think they call it zone read blocking. They run a zone read offense, but yeah, those guys were all agile, and if you remember back, a lot of times pulling, not just the guard, but the tackle and the center, all three would pull out, and they would it wasn't necessarily predicated on just overpowering someone and driving them down the field. It was designed to to zone them out and drift out with them and give somebody a crease to cut through. And you had the likes of Pat White and Steve Slayton that could get through those cracks pretty easily, and that's why they were so successful. But yeah, one of the things you noticed about those linemen, and we talk about Rich Rod getting the type of people in that he wanted. The linemen are the key, and he likes those agile linemen that can move. Obviously they have to have size and strength, but they have to be mobile and be able to move, and that's what the offense is again predicated on. You hope that he brought some of those guys in, because it would take a while to figure out. That is the one. It's a little bit of worrisome, because all these guys, coming in or with the numbers he's brought in, have to learn the system, and sure, it's not something you can learn in one night, and it takes some time for them all to gel and to figure out what they're doing, and that worries you a little bit about the upcoming season. But at the same time, it may take some time, but it's going to be successful. So the offensive line is fun to talk to these offensive linemen that have played in this system, because they know the complexities of it, and what has to be done, what kind of body and skill sets you have to have, and all those sorts of things. So it's fun to talk to them and hear those things. We can watch as fans, and see it, and what little we know about it, talk about it, but to actually be in there in the trenches and running the system, that's what's fun to hear about, and hearing him talk about it is pretty neat, because you can see it. I mean, you see him moving and zone blocking and that sort of thing. So yeah, good stuff. So and again, another well-spoken individual and intelligent guy. Tell that, and just another good Mountaineer product.
Yeah. One of the other things, and I can't remember if it was in the interview or not, or when we were kibitzing before, is that he said, he said the quarterback would call the play, and we would go up to the line, right? But he said we were never sure who was really going to get the ball and where they were going to run. And he said you just had to develop this sixth sense of being able to be quick on your feet and anticipate where the running back, let's say, because KJ was there at the beginning, and then Steve Slayton, different runners, different quarterbacks. When Pat White was there, and he said it was a very interesting experience to be able to be successful when a play was called, but you weren't quite sure how it was exactly going to unfold. And I said to myself after the interview, I said, now he's saying that as an offensive. Can you imagine being in on the defense? And if he's saying that, you can imagine. And then when you look at, Steve Slayton taking off, KJ taking off, Pat White, Rashid, not to speak of the wide receivers at the time, it makes sense. And of course, that's everybody's hoping. Please, Lord, let that be again. Let that happen again as early as this season.
Yeah, one time, and I don't remember when or where, but got to hear Coach Rodriguez talking about that offense, and some folks knew more football than I did were asking him questions about it. And I remember him talking about the zone read, and he said, he starts going into all these things that the quarterback has to see and what he's looking for, and what decisions are made based on what he sees. And I'm just sitting there, my head spinning. I'm like, how can a person see all these things at one time and then make a decision about what to do with the ball? And when you watched them play, you didn't know who had the ball or who was going to get it. I mean, it was just, you'd be watching the offense go one way. Next thing you know, there goes Pat White running down the field for a 40-yard gain, or Steve Slayton, or whoever would get it. And you just never knew, who had it. So yeah, you hope the defense is feeling the same way. Oh, who got the ball? And you will eventually. I think it's we've got based on what we're hearing. Of course, we know Jaheim White, but the running back room sounds pretty solid, and some big guys, some fast guys, that sort of thing, mixing it up. So you hope that plays into our favor in this offense. But yeah, it's complex, and you don't think about the offensive linemen, and the center having to make their line calls and all those type of things. It's very complicated, and to hear him then talk about what the quarterback's reading, then you have to think, well, if he's reading this, are the offensive linemen, do they have to read it too? Or, again, do they go and feel what happens there? Again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and you heard him say, we ran, and when you do you look at the highlight films, say Pat White, you're more than not likely going to see Pat White running. Certainly he'll pass. And what's interesting is that I just saw it today. You may have seen it too. Phil Steele just came out with his top 10 units, 1 through 16, and he ranks West Virginia as a number 1 running back room. And when you think about Rich Rod's offense, that's extremely important, which also means if Nico starts, we're going to see him run more than he did before. But it also emphasizes something that Rich Rod has said from the very beginning. He said, I'd be happy with 5 quarterbacks, because you never know when your quarterback's going to go down or when you need to bring in a relief quarterback. So having more competent, prolific quarterbacks, much better than just having one starter. So we'll just have to see, because we're going to see the same general offense that they ran back then improved, given the stops and experience and the evolution of the game. But I'll tell you again, as you said, having a chance to get to know these guys, not just the named guys, like the Darryl Tallies, but the guys that are in the trenches, the guys that don't always make the headlines, like Jeremy, but who made it possible. I mean, they only lost 16 games. Was it 60? Yeah, 16 games in 5 years. 16 games in 5 years, and made the Outland list as a senior year. I mean, that's it just gives you just cross your fingers and say, let's revisit those days as quickly as possible.
Amen. Yeah, and he was, like I said, he was a heck of a player. He was a really, really good player, and I remember watching him, and just good. He's just a good player. You mentioned Rich Rod saying 5 quarterbacks. Yeah, in an offense like, to me, the situation they have up there right now allows them, to open that offense up and run it like they want to, without fear of somebody going down with an injury, because you have capable backups, obviously. And if you look back with Garrett Green, I think one of the things that um, and later on in Neil Brown's tenure, this changed a little bit. But initially, it seemed like their offense was limited because they didn't want Garrett Green running because they were afraid he was going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And he was a heck of a running quarterback. I think he even tried out. I don't know if he made it or not, but with an NFL team at wide receiver, so he can run and he can move. But I think their offense was kind of held back a little bit because they didn't want him out there running around getting hit all the time. And I think at one point they finally just said, "Well, we got to go for it. We're going to win games. We got to let him turn him loose, let him run." Because you and I talked about it early in the season last year. He just didn't seem like the same quarterback, and something was off, something wasn't right, and was he hurt? He just wasn't running the football like he normally did, and finally later on in the year he started running it again, and got back really to where he was initially. So you hope that with two or three guys sitting in the background that are capable of playing, that you just go ahead and open that offense up and run it like you want to run it, and turn Nico loose. His legs are a strength. You got to use them.
Yeah, and as we said before, the top two quarterbacks, they're both left-handed,
Yeah.
and that helps because that means the ball's coming out the same way generally, and we'll just have to see. I mean, that's the thing that's interesting and also frustrating this year. We've talked about this, and that is in the past years, and we've talked with enough athletes to know that. Just like they're human beings like we are, having more certainty is better than less. And so guys would come back for the next year and they would have an idea, and a pretty good idea who's going to start where, what the depth chart's going to look like. Some new guys will come in, but all that's changed now, generally in college football, but certainly in West Virginia with a change of a regime from Brown to Rodriguez. And so you just don't know. And so, but we were more than pleasantly surprised with a wholesale changeover of that basketball team last year. How quickly that squad came together with that great tournament run, beating two top 25 teams, one of which was a top 10 team. So you just never know. Indiana surprised last year. Arizona State was picked for 16. 16th in the conference, and went to the college football playoff. So you just never know. It just depends because you're dealing with a tremendous amount of uncertainty. Yeah. And what's that dog breed? When you breed dogs, you ordinarily get if you have a Scottish Terrier, generally what the personality type. But now they're combining a whole bunch of breeds. And they're all one-offs, and you never know what the personality of the dogs are going to be because of the crossbreeding. So, and even if they do have puppies, they're it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that's yeah. And I think I just compared the Mountaineers to dogs, but anyway, but that's really we don't know
who let these dogs out after a while.
Yeah, we just don't know until we see it, which is a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to the pre and post game shows again this year because we'll be able to see it in real time.
Yep, and it gives you a little bit of comfort when you see all these prognosticators, and they've got WVU 16th in the Big 12 and 65th in the country and that sort of thing. You're like, they have no idea. They don't know any more than what we know, and so you don't worry about it. Used to, if you got that, you're like, man, we must not be going to be very good. But I don't know how you even gauge that right now. I don't know how you have any idea who's going to be good. Your blue bloods are going to be good. They always are, but no way you can tell how good West Virginia is going to be. There's no way of knowing. You can just hope. And, from what we've talked about and who we've talked to, we have hope. And if everything comes together, we could have a good year. And I just laugh when I read these predictions and have us all over the place and knowing full well that those folks don't know any more than we know about it.
Yeah.
And most programs,
Amen.
are in the same boat. Most programs, they don't know. So we just hope for the best. And we can't wait. We can't wait to let the dogs out.
That's right. Yeah,
Well,
I was
Frank,
thinking of their doodles. That's what they are. They're the doodles. Yeah, doodle
well,
dogs.
that don't sound nearly as scary as the hog. Who let the doodles out? I
Let the
don't think that
doodles
works
out.
well.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Well, we're looking up at the clock here. We've whiled away an hour again here, just like that. It didn't take long for that.
yeah. Always fun.
Hour don't
Always
last as
fun.
long as it used to. That's for sure.
That's right.
It goes by fast. So, without any more foolishness here,
Yeah,
we'll let you. We'll go to your promo you do each week there for the Boys College football,
yep.
and we'll thank everyone for tuning in. Are we lined up for next week? I need to ask that.
Yeah, we got to do that first. And
Yep.
first of all, I know you joined me in this. A couple of announcements of colleagues that are
Yep.
near and dear to our hearts, and also to the program. Mike Dunlap, who has really been out of commission since before Thanksgiving
Yeah.
because of a fall at home, lost part of his leg, but was in the hospital and other medical facilities for a long time. Finally, is at home, feeling better. He's getting fitted for a prosthetic, and we hope to have him back for he's been doing the pregame shows with us, some of the post games. We look to have Mike back with us soon. And then for those of you who don't know, our dear friend who's been on the show multiple times was a mainstay on the Wolf Show for a number of years. Daryl Prue suffered a minor heart attack this week. He's been, these guys, they play basketball, they're lifers. And after a workout, he wasn't feeling too well, but was able to drive himself to the hospital. It was a minor heart attack, and he's out of the hospital now, feeling good, but they're still in the process of figuring out what caused this. Excuse me. And, all the details that go through anytime. You know what it's like, Greg. I do what it's like when you go through a major medical situation. You want to do everything you can to make sure it doesn't happen again. So a shout out to Mike. Good to have him back on the mend, and shout out to Daryl, and thank God that he's doing better, and we hope to see him soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yep, you got to take care of yourselves.
Yep. And then next week, if you could throw that up, Darren, we will. We're going to have a legend. The next 2 weeks, we're not going to have football players or basketball players. Randy Metter is going to be our guest. What a long career. What a respected guy. Trainer for the basketball team, and 41 years, just retired as assistant AD. He's been doing a slew of interviews. We're really gracious to Mark Parsons, who set that up, that Randy's going to join us next week. And so we look forward to that. And then John Antonic will be with us the week after that. John is ready to release his new book on the Bobby Bowden era at WVU.
Yep.
And the book will be, I think, on sale starting September 1. And so I don't know if this is going to be his first interview. It might be the first major interview on the book. And so we look forward to having John with us in 2 weeks on I think the last day or the second to last day, the 30th, I think it is, of July. And the other thing we want to put a shout out for, and we've seen the numbers increase, Darren, if you can throw up the simulation graphic, is that I think I didn't check to make sure that what I'm saying is true, but it's mostly true, as they say. I think the simulations for all, or at least most of this season games are up there. Again, as Greg was saying, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because predictions are always dicey, particularly now with the way football is. But hey, they've put together simulations, full game simulations for the games that West Virginia. I didn't see the Robert Morris one up. That may be one that's not up there. But the Ohio, you can watch from the beginning, from Ohio through the season. It's on the Voice of College Football channel, on our West Virginia channel. Just go to the West Virginia channel on the Voice of College Football, and you'll see under videos those videos, and I looked at the numbers today, and they're up into the thousands, and so that's a very good sign.
Yep, all good stuff, and um, those things are neat. Like I said, take them with a grain of salt, but they're still fun to watch, and it might
Yeah.
help you. Might help you learn some of the names before the season starts. So that'd be another good thing about it. You don't actually see some of the names, but yeah, I've watched some of those. They're really cool, and people enjoy it. They need to go check that out. Frank, appreciate you as always, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We look forward to bringing you another Mountaineer Locker Room then and now next week. Like I said, we'll have Randy Metter on, a legend at WVU, 41-year career up there. And like I said, I've seen him all over the news here lately with all kinds of salutes and tributes folks been doing for him. He'll be missed, that's for sure up there. But anyway, we do appreciate it, and we look forward to having him. It's going to be fun. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Mountaineer Locker Room, of course, brought to you on the New River Network and the Voice of College Football. And Frank always has a little promo here at the end we do for the Voice of College Football. So with that, we'll turn it over to that promo and bid you good night. And Frank, we will talk to you next Wednesday night, as we will all of you folks. Good night, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Frank Fear here from Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now, and we're pleased to be part of the Voice of College Football National Network. Mark Rogers and staff have done a great job with the network, and it's constantly adapting and expanding to bring content to you. Many of you are already following us on X and Facebook and Instagram, and if you're not, here are the URLs, the links to go to and take advantage of all the great content that's there for you. Even if you do that, you may not know some of the new doings at the Voice of College Football Network. One is a new podcast options that already thousands of people are taking advantage of. You can get it on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast networks, and we encourage you to do that. Perhaps the biggest drum roll is the new Voice of College Football website with plenty of content, everything that you want to enjoy and can enjoy about college football. And remember, one thing that makes the Voice of College Football Network different is that we're 24/7, 12 months a year. It never ends. It's college football in the winter, the spring, the summer, and of course during the fall. We also want to announce, and Mark Rogers again and staff have done a great job with this, a relationship with Amazon.com. And here's Mark to tell you more about it.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Well, that's it for now. Let me thank you for your loyalty. Voice of College Football Network. This is Frank Fear for Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. Hope to see you on our channel and other channels, VOCF. Take care, everybody.